Hi, I am T-REXMACHINEGUN, and here is my review and explanation of the Elder Scrolls Online as a veteran with 7,000 plus hours. ESO has many good and bad things about it. While it did have a rocky launch, the game is in a much better state than it was back in 2014 when it released on PC. And in 2015 it released to console and helped the community grow. Now, there are a few bad topics of ESO I would like to get off the start just because the bad is typically what people look for in a game. So I'm going to start off with this. There are four things I would like to go over. The first is the crown store. The second is the reward structure. The third is PvP. And the fourth is the community of this game. Now, the crown store is a blemish on this game. It takes away from the reward structure that is lacking. Now, all of this stuff is stuff that I feel should be put into the game as earnable via a grind or questing or rewards for doing some of the harder content in the game. Now, I've heard many people who've put only a very few amount of hours say, "Oh, it's in your face. This is in your face and everything. It's constantly pop-ups." The only pop-up you're ever gonna see while playing ESO is when you log in and it gives you this little announcement screen. Otherwise, it is not in your face. It's rarely ever mentioned outside of people in zone chat selling crowns for gold. Now, within the store, there are many things. 99, well, not 99, probably like 80 to 90% of the stuff in the store is just cosmetics that have no actual impact on gameplay. With the crown crate stuff being the most desirable because it adds the cool mounts and stuff like this one here. Now, where people do get butthurt over the deals, over the DLCs, over the stuff in the crown store is the DLCs, which I guess is fair. But name a game where DLC isn't paid for. Well, you can probably because live service models, but the DLCs aren't very expensive, and if you pay for the subscription, which is $15 a month, you get all the DLCs and all the old expansions for free, except for whatever the newest expansion was that came out the year of or last year. So let's say you buy ESO Plus now, you'll get all of these DLCs for free, but you won't get the chapter that came out last year because the newest chapter hasn't come out yet, and that would be Necrom if I could find it. I don't think I can find it. Well, I can't find it in here, but you won't get Necrom. Now, an area of this game, or not of this game, but of the crown store that people will say is pay to win, are the things in the upgrades. These, the bankers and stuff, they're not pay to win in the slightest, they're just pay to convenience. Not even that, they're just because there's bankers, merchants, and stuff everywhere, there's no real need for them. They're handy. I don't have them because I'm a cheap bastard. Now, the classes, I can understand if you say they're pay to win, but in ESO, you can do any build with anything, but I'll go more into that when I talk about builds a little later. Ah, okay. There are 9 races with base ESO, 10 if you buy the Imperial Edition, I believe, yes, the Digital Imperial Edition. Now, you can make a case for that's pay to win, but Imperial is not even, like, it's an okay tanking race, but outside of that, there's no real purpose to even play an Imperial, so I wouldn't even bother. Now, the skill line stuff, people will say is pay to win. It's not. It's pay to convenience, because for you to even consider buying any of this stuff, you have to have already maxed out of that specific skill line in the actual game. Now, something like this, the Curse of Vampirism, this is literally just a scam. Do not buy it. Same with the Curse of whatever, Lycanthropy. They are both scams. You do not want to buy them. If you want them, just go to a zone that has the shrines, and people will bite you. Same with the same thing applies with the Sky Shards. Oh, you can build a character faster. The only place where this matters to people is PvP, and PvP is not in the greatest state. And same applies with these. You have to have collected all of them to even consider buying these. Utility, these things you get constantly. Well, the experience scrolls and stuff, you get them constantly through your daily rewards. And all of the food and potions and repair kits and this, like all this stuff right here, you can make, equipment that's just as good, if not just a little better from actual gameplay. Like if I go over here to my little crafting station, or cooking station, I can make food that is just better, if I can find any. Like, this is good. This is the... well, maybe not that one. That's not what I wanted to do. This is a much better food. Same with this and this than the ones you can actually buy in the store. Along with, well, maybe not these ones. These gold ones are pretty meh. But there are food and potions and stuff you can just make that are better than what you can get into the store. Now, the next thing I want to get into is the reward structure and just overall rewards of ESO. Now, the rewards that are in the game are good for the most part. No, don't let anybody tell you that body markings are a good reward. They really aren't. They take away from skins, which are actually cool rewards that can cosmetically change how your character looks. I'd say about half the skins I have right here are earnable, and half the others I've gotten from the store. Actually, hold on. Actually, no, most of these are skins I've earned through actual gameplay. And only, like, probably, I don't know, 1/3 of these are ones I got from the store. So, skins are okay, but over the past, like, 2 to 3 years, skins have been kind of dropped from being rewarded, and which sucks, in my opinion. Every dungeon that comes out should have a skin for just completing the veteran version of the dungeon. Or, if not that, make body markings the reward for doing vet, and then if you do hard mode speedrun at no death, not all at once, but like the old format with a bunch of the older dungeons, such as like Fang Lair or Fall Creek's Hold, where you get a skin or a personality in the case of Fall Creek's Hold, like the one I'm wearing now, which is the Worm Wizard personality. Another area in which the reward structure is, well, a place the reward structure is severely lacking is mounts. It is mounts. An MMOs are driven mostly by the grind for getting mounts, and ESO does not have that. There are, I can't say off the top of my head, because I don't remember, but I'm going to say there's like 30 to 35 earnable mounts in the entire game. And that isn't good for a game that's been out for almost 10 years. That is utterly horrible, and that's where the Crown Store comes in. The mounts get ass-blasted by the Crown Store, and all of the cool ones get put into the store like this. Now, if you are in the endgame in ESO, mounts are a bit more rewarding because of the trial mounts that have come out with a lot of the newer trials. such as the one I have running around behind me, which you get from Sunspire. You get this one from Rot Grove. I really want this one, but I've yet to get into a group that I can still run with that's doing it. The new trial coming out later this year in June, that one looks okay. I don't really like it, but it's okay. Where is it? Ah, here. Is this it? Yes, this mount. This is a cool mount. This is the trial reward mount that came out with the expansion last year, Necrom. I really want this mount. It is cool as hell, but same as the thing, I just don't have a group to run with right now since my groups have kind of disbanded. But one area, well, two areas in which the reward structure does amazingly is a transmog system and housing. There are tons of cosmetics for transmogs that you can earn in game. 95% of all transmog stuff that you can see, you can earn in game, and that is amazing. Yes, there are unique stuff you can buy from the store, and that is not good. It's kind of like these boss weapons that you can get from the store, or undaunted weapons. These are really cool weapons. I'm using them on this. I'm using a pair on this character here, the swords, but they take away from the reward structure, making it desirable to buy stuff rather than earning it through in-game play. But when it comes to just armor and stuff, it is really good when it comes to earning stuff in-game. The same with housing. Housing is ridiculous in this game. Housing is what drives this game's economy, at least on the server I'm playing on, which is PlayStation North America. I'm going to say the same is the case with all the other 5 servers. And like every housing thing you can see in here is something I earned in game, except for the giant statue way back there that's fiery. Like, yes, there are plenty of stuff in the store when it comes to furnishing and whatnot, but furnishing, like, it is insane the amount of stuff you can get for furnishing in this game. Like, the store does not take away from furnishing in the slightest. The housing in this game is amazing. If you played ESO just for housing, I wouldn't blame you, because it is really cool to make a nice house and everything. The next thing. PvP. PvP, when it works, it is good. When it works, it's good. But PvP has not a lack of reward, but it has a lack of reason for playing, because PvP hasn't had a genuinely good update in literal years. I can't remember the last time PvP actually had an update. Although, apparently, from what I remember seeing in a roadmap for ESO this year, PvP is supposed to be getting an update. I don't know what that entails, but it is supposed to be getting one. Now, with PvP, there's 3 ways of PvPing. You have, well, 4 ways. You have Cyrodiil, the Imperial City, Battlegrounds, and then dueling. Cyrodiil and Imperial City are very similar. They're both like open world PvP, whereas Imperial City is more about sieging keeps and everything. Imperial City's PvE VP based, so you're going around farming enemies for Kelvar, which is a currency you can use to buy stuff in the Imperial City. And if you get killed by a player, they can take, I believe, half of all the Telvar you have on you, or 50%. Battlegrounds is an arena formatted PvP, which is lacking in one regard. It doesn't have a ranked like system, which it annoys me that it doesn't, because if it did, I feel that the PvP community would be a lot better, because people would have a reason to play PvP. Especially if it gave rewards like mounts. PvP does add a lot in terms of cosmetic rewards in armors and stuff, but that's it, really. Like, the coolest PvP reward you can get in this entire game is Emperor, and what you get from it is a dated costume. Although it can look good, especially if you're playing on PC, which I'm not. But this is what it looks like. I have it dyed black and whatever blue this is, and it, in my opinion, looks good. Now, its base form is not as good looking, but it is good looking, and it's an okay, decent reward for getting Emperor in this game. But I feel like there should be more with it. Now, the next thing is the community. The community can be very, very toxic. There is no secret about that for anyone who's played this game for more than 20 hours. The community is toxic, especially around the dueling community in PvP and the endgame community. I'm not going to go into the PvP side of it because I'm not that experienced with it, but if you can go around just watching people duel, and you'll come across people saying, oh, they're cheating, you're toxic, you're running just A, X, Y, and Z build, yada yada yada, all the nonsense that people get with getting butt hurt over getting beat in a duel. Now, endgame community. This is where my expertise lies because I've been in thousands of runs, so I feel like I have a valid point or opinion on this subject. I'd say half the time when people say people are being toxic in the endgame, it really isn't. It's just somebody trying to help you improve or get better, but you are refusing to listen, and because of that, you're getting called garbage or trash. That is not their fault, that is yours for not learning how to play the game. Now there's the other percent, where there are people who are generally good at this game, or people that are genuinely good in this game, and then people from the same group will talk shit about you or that person. I've had this happen multiple times in the groups I ran with, and most recently, in my Godslayer run, there was a person in there who went behind everybody's back and talked shit. I'm not going to say who they were, but that is what happened, and they were kicked and removed from the thing. And this isn't the first time it's happened. This has happened quite a few times, especially a few years ago when I wasn't very good and there was just tons of drama. The endgame, the highest form of endgame, which is trifectas, that really isn't toxic. It's more people just trying to help each other and like get better and run. Like the 0.1% of endgame players are really nice people, but it's the other percent, like the people who are doing just basic veteran content or hard modes on easier trials or raids. There is where you'll see all the toxicity, especially if you go into groups trying to do Cloudress or Vimo or Maw Lorcage. The toxicity from people there is outstandingly weird. Like, if you make one mistake and you're in a toxic group, you are going to get berated and most likely kicked out of group. I've never had it happen to me. Excuse me. I've never had it happen to me, but I have seen it happen to hundreds of people in my time playing this game. It is ridiculous how toxic this community can be. And if you are new, I'd recommend just turning off like chat display and everything, like social. Like, just turn this off if you don't want to see it. The best advice I can give you, the same advice I give people in parties that I'm on PlayStation, where people are getting annoyed by notifications. The simplest thing is to turn it off so you don't have to see it. That is the best thing you can do. If you don't do that, I don't know what to tell you. Now, the community can be good, because there are plenty of people who are willing to help you learn, tell you how to do things and everything. And there's plenty of good guilds that'll help you, such as these two guilds here on the PlayStation North American server. These are fantastic guilds, especially for trading. They were very helpful, they're very nice. I would recommend joining them. If you ever play on the PS5 NA server, they are amazing guilds, and I highly recommend them. Now, one nitpick I'd like to get into is ESO's UI. The UI itself is very clean and smooth, yet there is so many things to go through. Like, if you understand where stuff is, you'll get through it quick, but if you're new, you might get lost in this UI. Like, because everything has options, and those options are divided into sub-options, which are then divided into another sub-options. Like, it is a pretty lengthy UI if you were to stretch it out on like a field. But it is very clean. You see your character, you can look at your stats and everything. You can look at advanced stats, which I don't think I've ever seen anyone actually use. It's good to know, but I don't think I've ever actually seen anyone use it. Now, the first good thing I'd like to say about this game is it is a very welcoming game to new players. There is so much to do just within the base 16 zones, which are not base 16, what was it? 19 or 20 zones. There's like 19 or 20 zones that are base game, and there is plenty of questing to do. There's plenty of dungeons to do. Also, if you are new, one thing that is good is ZOS has been really good with making old content free, such as the Imperial City in the first expansion, which is Morrowind, if I can find it. It's probably all going by... here, Morrowind. Everything goes in alphabetical order, and I'm just blind as hell. Morrowind is free for everybody. That adds the Halls of Fabrication dungeon and Vardenfell, which is up here, which many people will get nostalgic for. And over the past, like, half a year, ZOS has done little mini events for the older DLCs, such as Orsinium and Thieves Guild, which just happened a month or two ago, where those DLCs became free for people. So you don't have to buy them, you don't even need ESO Plus. You can just buy it free, and you'll have it forever, which is really good because it adds, or especially with Orsinium, it adds the Maelstrom Arena, and the Maelstrom Arena is like the most important solo thing in this game's history, because it is nearly a 9-year-old location in the game. Like, in actuality, like, the stuff you can get from there is used by literally everybody that takes this game somewhat seriously in PvE. The Maelstrom weapons, no, those aren't the Maelstrom weapons, these. People love these things. I love these weapons. They are amazing weapons. You should try to get them, especially if you're a DPS. You really want to focus on getting the Destro stats and the two-handed, and you can go for everything else. You can make really cool builds with everything else. Same with all these other arenas. Dragonstar is also a base game. It's a 4-player arena. It has a really good bow, destruction staff, healing staff. The healing staff is amazing. Or where is it? This is really good. It has okay sets. Same with Maelstrom Arena. It's got okay sets. You can do whatever you want with them. I wouldn't recommend them, but you can use them. Now, the zones. The ESO does have dated graphics, but in terms of MMOs, they're really good for an MMO. Have you seen World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2? This game looks light years ahead in terms of graphics compared to those two games, and I'm playing on a PS5, which isn't the greatest for graphics, but it is good enough to where it looks good. Like, just exploring this zone, which I believe is Malmator. Yes, it is. Like, it looks amazing. If you played on PC and you had all these add-ons to make the game look cooler and better, I am fairly certain that this game would look amazing for you. This game has amazing stories within each zone. The one other bad thing, I completely forgot about this. Overland content, which is the zone content,
Explain once more why running was the
is
best idea.
extremely easy. Now there are some examples of actually decently hard overland content, especially with some of the newer DLCs to come out that have introduced things. But when it comes to just base game content, all of the overland stuff is exceptionally easy. Which is good, which can be good, but it's also bad in certain ways because it removes a lot of challenge from the game that could be seen as beneficial. Now, ESO did have that back when ESO had leveled zones, but they changed that with 1 Tamriel. But the overall story and zone quality of stuff is really good at best and pretty mediocre at worst. But in general, I would say all of the stuff is really good. Now, another aspect that I would like to get into that is good is the combat. Many many players that have come to ESO complain about its combat because it's not a tab target system or they don't like it coming from Skyrim. Skyrim, Morrowind, and Oblivion are fantastic games, but their combat is, well, be real with me, it is ass compared to ESO. Like, in those 3 games, your combat is literally just this. Hold on, let me find an enemy. Skyrim and Oblivion and Morrowind combat is literally just this. Swing weapon, occasionally throw a spell, keep swinging weapon until target is dead. Like, that is your combat in ESO, not ESO. That is your combat in the older Elder Scrolls games. It's terrible. The games are fantastic, but the combat is terrible. Now in ESO, it is an MMO, so it follows MMO class building stuff in combat, but ESO is fantastic with that, as you have tons of abilities, class abilities. You have, 18 class abilities with a bunch of passives. You have tons of weapon abilities. You even have armor abilities, 1 per type of armor. You have a bunch of guild abilities. You have support and assault abilities from PvP, which people do use in PvE, especially the Ultimate's Aggressive Warhorn and Reviving or Revivifying Barrier. Race, I'll go into race later when I'm talking about builds, but there is plenty of options for combat in this game. And combat can be really fun if you get into it and understand it, which a lot of new players may find struggling because this game is very slow starting off, and that is not good. Like this boss here, it's not mechanically difficult at all. It might kill me, it might not, I don't know, I haven't fought this thing in years. But the combat is a lot more engaging in ESO, especially if you do harder content such as dungeons or trials. Like, compared to Skyrim and stuff, you're not just standing there in front of your target, constantly just whacking it over and over again. You're doing skills, swapping between bars, doing everything. And unlike those games, you actually have to be aware of your surroundings, as there will be AoEs and stuff that can pop up and kill you. I'll probably put up a little footage from a trial I was in the other day, which would encapsulate what I was talking about perfectly. But There's also 7 classes to pick from, and each one feels unique when you're playing it. They can feel very samey, especially if you run very similar builds on them, with the most unique builds being, or the most unique classes in terms of gameplay feel, probably being Necromancer and Arcanist, because of how they have their own unique mini mechanics within themselves. Necromancers need corpses for certain abilities and won't work without corpses. Arcanist has a system of cruxes, which is like a little mini buff that you can give to yourself, which can boost certain abilities or give certain abilities additional effects. Now, wardens and sorcerers are pretty similar in that they both use like animals or pets or summons to kill stuff. Warden has a bear, and sorcerers have 2 little Daedra followers that you can have. And it can add a variety to gameplay that you wouldn't have in other Elder Scrolls games. I'm not going to compare this game to other MMOs because it doesn't the gameplay isn't traditional MMO based where you can, or where you're limited to certain classes to certain roles. Like, every class in ESO can do everything, and that brings me to my next topic of builds. ESO is fantastic for building characters. Like, you can build pretty much anything you want, take it into 90% of this game's content, and you will be fine. The only places where you want to have more specialized builds that are probably a bit more effective are PvP, veteran trial content, not even veteran trial content, veteran hard mode trial content, and the same would apply to dungeons, so hard mode dungeons. Now, when it comes to your building, there are so many different sets you can run. It is ridiculous how many sets are in this game. There's, I think, like 620 odd sets, and these are just the ones you can earn through dungeons, trials, overlaying and stuff. This doesn't even bring in the crafted sets, which there are a ton of. Like, right here, Defiler. Not a great set, but you could build a character with this. You would have no problem building a character with this. Could you make it good? Absolutely. Same with War Maiden. Now, are they the best? Absolutely not. You wouldn't need, but you don't need to run the best in ESO. You can run what you want, and as long as as long as you're being efficient and you're not dying in content, you will be fine. Yes, you can join groups that will be toxic and say, oh, you don't have anywhere near enough damage for this specific thing. Trust me, the hardest content in ESO to burn, you only need at a most like 50k DPS per player. So don't let other people tell you how to run in the game. I would recommend listening to other people that are trying to help you get better, but you don't need to follow the meta for everything, especially if you want to enjoy this game, because if you follow the meta, you're going to get pretty bored of that because all of your characters are going to have the same setups and everything. And unlike other MMOs where content that released 1 year will be dead or not good a patch or 2 later, maybe even a year later, ESO is completely different. Like, right here. This is the set Berserking Warrior or Advancing Ukita. I don't know why why it has 2 names for the same set. I don't understand it. It should just be called the Advancing Ukita set because that's what everybody calls it as. This is a set that comes from a base game trial that is 9 years old. If I can find it. Where is it? Torah. This set is ancient, yet it is a really good set for melee characters. Another play building Building also takes weird turns because you can have mages that use swords, which is what my main character does. Like, this character isn't a mage, he's a warrior who just summons pets. That is what he does. Now, my main character, which is the guy I was previously on, he's a Templar. He's a he's a melee mage, so he uses swords and stuff. Now, where it would be weird to use dual wield is something like this sorcerer here, who is all about ranged casting. If I was using swords on him, like dual wield swords, it would be weird, but I could do it. You can very well do it. You can build however the hell you want in ESO, and there is nothing stopping you from building the way you want, especially if you're just trying to enjoy the story content in this game. Because none of it's hard, you can run whatever funny, unique, cool, or even bad build you want. Nothing will stop you from playing how you want in ESO. The only thing that'll stop you is you following blindly what other people are telling you to run. There are one person I'd really recommend if you want to just try unique builds is Zinode. I know a lot of people in the endgame community aren't the biggest fan of him because he doesn't run the meta stuff, and because he has a lack of shown achievements in-game, which is fine, whatever. If you don't like that, so be it. But Zinode is really good at explaining builds and how things work in ESO. He is probably the best at it out of anyone I have ever seen make ESO content. Another person that I'd go to listen to for stuff is Nephis. He is really good for endgame content and stuff. And same with Skinny Cheeks. Skinny Cheeks is a person you want to go to if you're looking for really high quality endgame builds for PvE.
Did you get it?
In PvP, there are tons of PvP PvP people you can go to. I find it hilarious that ESO is a PvE game first, and then PvP has been thrown to the side, yet 80% of the ESO content that you'll find on YouTube is PvP related, because that is, I don't know. It's what you'll find the most of on YouTube. It is weird about that. I'll never understand it, because PvP is like only 1/5 of the player base. Technically, the endgame community is smaller than PvP, but endgame is always a very niche thing in every game. Like, as someone who's been playing for so long, I don't consider dungeons to be endgame anymore. Outside of a few dungeons to have come out in the past 3 years on their hard mode version, I don't consider dungeons hard mode. They're a mid-level content in this game. They are really good for the most part, except this one. Where is it? This one right here. If anyone tells you this dungeon is good, they are lying to you. This is the worst dungeon in the game, and if you like this dungeon, you are a masochist. Anyway. ESO's content is spread across multiple various areas. You have PvP, dungeons, trials, solo arena, and 4-player arenas, and then overland content. There is a plethora of this content in the game. PvP having the least of it, but it's there, you can do it. It can be really fun, especially if you're good at it. The overland stuff, as I said, is amazing, and it is definitely worth playing, especially solo or just with a person to enjoy the game with. It is very relaxing, especially if you turn off the zone chat so you don't have to see people talking in the zone chats. You can even turn off nameplates so you don't even have to see the other players. You'll see them, but you're not going to know that that's a player unless you just look at them and stare at them. Dungeons are a very easy part of this game, especially, well, normal dungeons are extremely easy and aren't hard in the slightest. And then trials. Trials are much harder mechanically, but can be done really easily if you have a group that knows how to do them. The arenas are really fun. They're highly coordinated. You need to know, I can't say highly coordinated because they're very ad heavy. The arenas have a focus on ad and ad mechanics. The bosses can be difficult, especially Black Rose Prison. And then Infinite Archive, which is the newest thing to have come out, came out last November. It is a solo or two-player arena, which is an endless wave sort of thing where you keep rising. It's like a tower thing where you keep rising the ranks. It gets really difficult the longer you go in there, and you can get ridiculously strong with going in there. It is pretty good. It has really good rewards, surprisingly. It even grants you a mount, which is good, which is really good. It's a step forward in the reward structure, which is kind of mid.
Hi, sorry if this was scuffed. I made this video completely without a script, so everything was off the top of my head and I had to think for the words. Anyways, if you want to look for the actual video proof of content and whatnot, there are plenty of online videos. I have plenty of videos on dungeons and trials and PvP, and if you're looking for arenas, there are plenty of other places to look online on YouTube for videos, and there are much better videos explaining builds and stuff, such as explained with Skinny Cheeks, Zynode, and Nephis. Thank you for watching. So yeah, that was my explanation and review of ESO. I would highly recommend it as a new player, as a player of this game. I find this game amazing. It is an amazing game when it's working. Now, there are problems with it that I've already explained, such as the crown store, the toxic community, the reward structure being poorly optimized, or not optimized, just poorly put together, and everything like that. Now, what's good is its combat, its zone and story content, its overall just amount of content that is good, such as its dungeons, trials, all that stuff that I talked about, and whatnot. Its build diversity is amazing, unless you're trying to follow the meta, which I don't recommend. It is good to run meta stuff because it's amazing, but you shouldn't. Well, not that you shouldn't, but try to come up with your own stuff that's good. And yeah, I do hope you like this video. I do hope this video was informative in some way, as I did this all off script. There was no script for this. And I really hope if you liked or shared this, so please and thank you. Have a nice day.